Today we're going to talk about success and the root control factor of success. And it's very simple, it's choices. It all comes down to choices. You see, after we all come from the same place, scared, naked and ignorant, and the choices we make determine where we go. And the choices you've made in the past determine exactly where you've ended up now. You've ended up where you are by your actions or your inactions. And I don't know if you realise that as you sit in your chair or in your car, your waistline is nothing but the accumulated compound effect of the choices that you've made, as is your veterinary practice. It is also exactly the compound effect of all the choices that you've made up to now. So let me make this a little bit more practical for you, and I'll use the whiteboard here in a minute. So let's take three friends who all started out exactly the same. They graduated from the same veterinary university. They all moved out into the suburbs. They got the house with the white picket fence and 2.2 kids. They've got the Volvo in the driveway, and everyone started out on the same starting salary of $50,000 a year. So I'll put down their names here. There'll be Scott and Brad. I'll put the other one down in a minute. I don't want this to fall over. So we've got Scott, Brad and Larry. Let's just say that Scott hears about this thing called Dietrich Elderman and turbocharger practice from a friend. And he starts reading and listening and watching. And he picks up a little idea here or there and he says, hey, I'm going to start trying these things that this crazy guy is suggesting that I do. And he's going to spend 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes every day working on something, implementing something in his veterinary practice. And this is all that Scott's going to do. Instead of getting up in the morning and reading the newspaper, he's going to sit down and then read 10 pages of a good book. Just 10 pages of a good book. Not a fiction book, but a real book, motivational or something like that, or business. And he's going to listen, or instead of reading a book, he's going to listen to something motivational. And those 10 pages or this motivational stuff is going to take 3, 4, 5, 7 or 8 minutes, and it's going to ignite his mind for the day. And then on his way to the practice in the car, instead of putting on the news or some head-banging music and hearing about all the wars, the corruption, the gossip, he's going to put in one of my instructional CDs, or he's going to find a good podcast to listen to, and he's going to listen to that on the way in. Now, he's also decided he would just like to do a little bit about his weight, and so he's going to cut 125 calories out of his diet. 125 calories. That's all. This is not a biggest loser competition type of campaign. This is half a candy bar. This is half a bowl of small bowl of cereal. That's his only change to his diet, and he's going to drink 2 bottles of water a day, and he's going to take 2,000 steps a day. He's got one of those watches that measures how many steps you take, and he's going to be really religious about this, and he's going to take 2,000 steps a day. And all it means is that instead of parking in his favourite spot at the front door of the practice, he's going to park at the back of the parking lot, or maybe he's even going to park down the street and walk his butt in. So he's going to ring a few clients every day to see how their pet is. So he'll do that at the end of the day or at the end of his shift, and he is the owner, so he can, his shift is typically going to be late. But before he goes home, he's just going to ring 3 or 4 clients and say, hey, Fluffy was in the other day. How are things going? You're getting the medication in. Is the ear looking better? And by the way, was there anything we could have done to make your visit even better than it was? Okay? And on a side note, he's going to do the date night thing with his wife. So that's all Scott's going to do. Now, if this is your New Year's resolution, and this is your best year ever plan for the year, how many people do you reckon could do Scott's plan? It's easy peasy, right? You could do it, couldn't you? So now let's get on to Larry. Larry's going to be our control group. Larry's just going to continue being Larry. Then we get to the last one here, Brad. Brad is going to start making seemingly insignificant poor choices. No big deal stuff. So at the end of lunch, he's just going to go to the reception. So if he goes to lunch somewhere, he's going to grab a small handful of chocolate-covered peanut M&Ms, or his practice has got a bowl of candy at the reception counter for the kids and the clients to take. And he's just going to take a small candy bar on a regular basis. Look, it's no big deal. It's just a couple of M&Ms or a small candy bar. No, he's going to miss a couple of workouts a week because he's busy and he's stressed. I mean, after all, he's got these heavy consulting afternoons and heavy consulting mornings. He's got these challenging stuff that he's got to manage and motivate. Just on a side note, he hasn't watched our video on our leadership video series, and he hasn't come to the video, and he hasn't come to the leadership workshop either, so his staff are challenging and hard to manage. He's also going to drink some more Diet Coke and not drink water. You know, the universe forbid. Now he's going to move around a little bit less. He's going to park right next to the front door. He's not going to look at the number of steps he's going to take. He's becoming a little more sedentary. And he's going to have his face sucked into the screen for quite a lot of the day, just watching stuff. And he's not going to go the extra mile. He's not going to ring clients to see how Pet is doing. He's not going to do date nights. He's just going to be a little bit cold shoulder to his wife a couple of times during the week. Nothing serious. Now, it's not a domestic violence situation or anything else like that. We're not going to call in Jerry Springer to film this. It's going to be just a little bit cold at home occasionally. When he walks out of the room, nothing changes. Yet. There's the big word, yet. So we're going to take these three friends and we're going to follow them out for a little while. So after 5 months, there's no change. The results are exactly the same. After 10 months, the results are exactly the same. Now, Scott's getting really frustrated at this stage, and you can understand that. He's like, man, I'm getting up and I'm reading these weekly emails from Diederik. I'm implementing, a couple of ideas a week at work. I'm spending 15 minutes every morning working on some of the stuff that he's sharing with me. I'm implementing this stuff, and I'm, reading 8 to 10 pages of a book. I'm listening to a podcast on the way to work, and I could be listening to my favourite music. I'm making these client calls, 3 or 4 in an afternoon, and I'm doing the damn date night thing, and my buddies, they're all, sloughing off, and we've all got the same results. Is it worth it? So you can see how people start to get frustrated, and then they start to drift. When you get to 20 months down the line, the differences between these three friends is only very, very slight. But Brad's noticing he's got to let his belt out one belt buckle, one notch. Not much. You can't see it when you're with him, but he's just a little bit tight in the belt. If you go out to dinner with Brad and his wife, if you're really intuitive, you can just feel something going on. You know that there's something going on. It's a bit of an undercurrent, but it's not really overt. A little bit of frustration has started to happen at the practice as well, and yeah, it's only at 27 months that this has started to happen, but there's a bit of frustration at Brad's practice, and it's not quite up to scratch with what he'd like it to be. So just remember, it's small, insignificant, tiny choices. So we've moved from 20 months out now to 27 months out. So we're 27 months out, just a little bit over 2 years. Scott's read 10 pages, 8 to 10 pages of a good book on success and achievement every day. He's now read 47 books. And statistically, do you realise that the average university or college graduate, and I think you are going to be the average university or college graduate. My apologies if I've mislabeled you, but the average university or college graduate only ever reads 3 books after graduation during the whole rest of their life. He's read 47 books on success and achievement. He has listened to 465 hours of success and achievement audio. A lot of it for me, but a lot of it also from other people. The 125 calories he cut out of his diet means that he's lost 15 kilos. The newspapers, the radio, and the TV talk about this obesity issue that we have here in Australia and in the US. It doesn't need to be like that. If people would just cut 125 calories out of their base diet every day, obesity would be ended. He's drunk 500,000 litres of water. He walked 2,000 steps a day, meaning he's walked 1,500 kilometres, and so he's lost another 15 kilos. The 124 date nights with his wife, yeah, look, I've got photos, but I'm not going to go there, all right? So let's just imagine what happened. The couple of extra client courtesy calls that he means that he made roughly 1,850 calls to clients. No one else did that, which means the number of referrals that he's getting from delighted clients has gone through the absolute roof. And now, after talking with me, he's getting his receptionist to ring those clients on his behalf, and those phone calls go, Mrs. Smith, Dr. Scott asked me to ring. So he's passed that on, and the results are still equally good. The 15 hours of implementation that he's done, the 15 minutes, my apologies, the 15 minutes of implementation of my ideas and my strategies that he's done has added up to 9,000 hours of implementation. This means that he's implemented a host of new, highly successful strategies in his practice. His team are hugely motivated and they're absolutely on fire. His practice is thriving, prospering, and growing. And you know what his friends are saying to him? You're just lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it. Now, Larry, he's like most people, right? He's treading water. He's failing a little bit. Sorry, he's falling a little bit further behind. He's becoming disenchanted with veterinary practice. Practice sucks, is what Larry says, okay? He's no longer motivated. His practice is treading water, and he thinks it's growing because it's doing 4% a year. He doesn't really understand that inflation is 4% a year, and his practice is just, he's taking home the average wage. He's disengaged. He's blaming everyone but himself. Brad, small, seemingly insignificant, poor choices. Here's how it's added up. The 125 calories he added to his diet, you know those 3 or 4, 5 or 6 M&Ms or that half a chocolate bar that he picked up, he's put on 15 kilos. He missed a couple of workouts, and he had more Diet Coke than water. He's under danger for heart disease. His doctor keeps talking to him about getting the weight off and doing exercise, but he's too busy with the state his practice is in, because it's functioning so badly. He's even more stressed about the practice at work. So that's compounding his cardiac arrest danger. The few less client calls he did, because he never did any. So this means that new practices have moved in. There's been a lot of internet competition, and his business is in severe financial danger. You could call it an emergency situation. And those cold shoulders added up to 27 months of cold shoulders. The marriage is now apathy, and they're on the brink of divorce. I'm hoping that you can see how seemingly irrelevant, trite, minor, insignificant choices compounded over time can add up to significant success or catastrophe. Which one are you? Which one are you? If you're not Scott, what are you going to do about it? I'll see you on the next video.